Jim, about this for sure, because nothing has been definitively proven. The thing that's important is that if you look at the available data, not just surmising or tweeting or guessing, but just look at the data, a fairly large group of very well-respected evolutionary virologists have examined epidemiological, virological, geospatial data from Wuhan and have come to the conclusion, not definitively by any means, but feeling that it is much more likely that it is a natural occurrence from an animal to a human. However, since it hasn't been definitively proven, we've got to keep a completely open mind. That being the case, we want to know arguments or information or data on either sides. And that's the reason why, as you mentioned in the top of your discussion a little bit ago, we really need to get all the facts so that we can prevent this from happening again in the future.
I don't expect you today to admit that you approved of NIH funding for gain-of-function research in Wuhan, but your repeated denials have worn thin, and a majority of Americans, frankly, don't believe you. Even the NIH now admits that EcoHealth Alliance did perform experiments in Wuhan that created viruses not found in nature that actually did gain in lethality. The facts are clear. The NIH did fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan, despite your protestations.
So how long? 70 years. This lovely chap, Mr. Potato Head, was incredibly popular. One of the most successful brands in the world. Yep. Of course, the wokies had to strike. Oh. And somebody somewhere pointed out that he's a mister. And we can't have a mister, can we? We can't have a mister. They have to go. Mister is toxic masculinity. And it was bad for somebody's mental health somewhere to have Mr. Potato Head.
You are making this story up. We still have Mr. Potato Head.
Just over my shoulder, Colin Kaepernick is warming up with his teammates on the field, but a little bit later tonight, about 100 feet to my right on the sideline, he's expected to kneel once again and protest to what he says are social injustices to African Americans. And just more than a month ago when he started this, he sat alone. That is no longer the case. Oh, say, can you see? The lyrics of the national anthem rang out in Levi's Stadium for what, so we thought, was a meaningless preseason game. But what went mostly unnoticed at the time surely is anything but meaningless now.
Just to bring awareness and make people realize what's really going on in this country. There are a lot of things that are going on that are unjust, people aren't being held accountable for, and that's something that needs to change.
And the effort to stand for what he believed in, his action to sit, was later lifted to taking a knee.
To speak out against those who would place the United States in a position of military and moral inferiority. You know, I've always believed that old Screwtape reserved his best efforts for those of you in the church. So in your discussions of the nuclear freeze proposals, I urge you to beware the temptation of pride, the temptation of blithely declaring yourselves above it all and label both sides equally at fault, to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, to simply call the arms race a giant misunderstanding, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil.
Blog Talk Radio.
I said, friend, let me get that for you, as he rolled his wheelchair toward the door of the restaurant I was going in.
All right. Welcome to another show, folks.
I helped the old fella through the door. I can see that his hat said he served in World War II.
Kicking it back to the
I
old
shook his
school.
hand and said, "Friend, let me buy dinner for you." He said, "Son, I wish everyone felt like you do." I watched a tear roll from his eyes. He said, "Grace." And as he sat there and he talked to God, my heart was in my throat. As I heard him ask, "We'd all find a better way."
A little kickback to the disrespected trucker
And
radio
he
show.
said, "If we keep on going the way we're going, we're headed for hell on a fast train, not knowing how we got there or how we're gonna come back."
Where it all got started.
They've taken the U right out of the USA, took the right arm off of the Statue of Liberty, without the 4th of July caraway. Then they say that it's all but let us take a rest. Help us stand up now, God, or there won't be no America left.
Parental guidance is suggested.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Distracted with Bikerson Gibbs. I am your host, Billy Bikerson. And Daryl is not with me tonight. At least not yet. It's not looking real hopeful. He is in the middle of getting loaded right now in his big truck somewhere in the United States, in between roughly the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Probably in the Southwest or Central Plains somewhere, I would imagine. Would be normal for him. We had very little time to communicate with each other prior to the show. I myself, I'm doing an episode here where once again I'm like sliding in sideways, running in through the door with just enough time to get the studio set up and get the episode created, start sending notifications out, and basically sit down just in time with everything put together to start launching the episode. I do know that my lovely wife, Carla Hartley Chick, will be joining us a little bit later. She's supposed to be bringing us a little bit more strange but funny, and I don't remember how she put it last time, strange but funny news. So, for the time being, we're going to move on. You just got me right now, unfortunately. I'm so sorry for everyone that's forced to listen to this. As always, I would like to remind you, big thank you to the folks over at Blog Talk Radio that make this show possible for those of us broadcasting over the Patriot Network. I swear we have some more shows coming. I'm in the works of talking back and forth with people and getting the stuff lined up in the little bit of spare time I have left, working so many hours in this robust economy. But we have, of course, we have Stephen Myers from the Truckers for Christ Ministries that is going to be putting together a Sunday show. I've got a travel league ice hockey coach that's going to be putting together a hockey show for those of you that are into hockey. And another friend of mine out in Indiana is putting together a sports talk show, not just hockey. I think his show will probably be centered mostly around football, but I'm not going to say anything on his behalf. The people that come in and do the shows here, they have the creative rights to their show. So whatever kind of direction they take it is the direction they take it. So there you go. A couple of sports shows coming up, and a Truckers for Christ type show in the works. So we're gonna get this network going. But if you are joining us on Blog Talk Radio, I will go ahead and give out the number if you would like to call in and share a comment, ask a question, what have you. That number is 516-387-1733, and I'll throw that out there one more time, 516 387-1733. Always look forward to hearing from our listeners when they call into the show. It makes the show so much better than just hearing me ramble on, or me and Daryl ramble on. I can't say if my wife's here, because obviously that's just a ultimately cool experience for everybody when she chimes in. But anyhow, in addition, you can also catch the show live streaming on our YouTube channel, and it is the same name as the show, our channel. It is Distracted with Bikerson Gibbs. And please, if you haven't done so, go to our YouTube page. Give us a follow over there. Throw up a couple of thumbs, on some of our video work, so we can kind of get that channel built. And also, we're streaming over Bikerson Digital Media at Bikerson Live on X, formerly known as Twitter, as Daryl likes to call it, of course, Malcolm Twitter. Anyway, good times. And if you want to listen now, go back and watch the video later. The videos stay up there. Once they get posted out, they're live streaming now, but they will remain up there. So you can always go back if you ever want to see my face that was made for radio. You're already putting up with my voice, which was made for silent film. But if you want to see my face made for radio, you can check it out on YouTube or Twitter at either of those accounts. So there we go. We got all that stuff out of the way. And so tonight's show, I'm calling it What Have They Done to Us? Because I feel like we need to have some real talk about the state of the world. The state of the world. Not just how messed up things are here in America, but what's going on in pretty much the entire world. And I'm just going to go ahead and warn you now. My wife is on the way home. And when she pulls up in the driveway, my dog is going to go crazy, because that's what my dog does. My dog goes crazy when my wife pulls up. So if you suddenly hear massive amounts of a small dog barking, don't be alarmed. My wife's home. She'll try to keep that as quiet as possible, but it is what it is. We'll have to deal with a barking dog. Maybe I'll throw some music on at that point. Anyway, the state of the world. Lots going on, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence right now by trying to speak about the events of just the last few days, because I have been very busy. My job is I work within the construction industry, so to speak. I drive a truck, but what I do is it's all construction driven. October is a very busy month for the construction industry. Basically, you have a lot of contractors out there that are trying to get all this last minute stuff done. You got all these people that have been putting off getting that new back patio poured or that new addition to their house they wanted all summer long while they went golfing and went on ski trips and went to Hawaii or whatever it is that they do. And now, right before winter, they're in a hurry to say, okay, let's go ahead and get that done before winter gets here, and we can't. And so there you have it. It gets really busy this time of year in this industry, and I've been working a whole lot of hours, a lot of days, been working weekdays, weekends as well. So I have not had the time to keep up with this week's news cycle pretty much at all. I know that obviously there's been a big missile attack over at the Gaza Strip involving Hamas, who somehow got their hands on some long-range missiles. I know how they got their hands on those missiles is in question, to say the least. There's a lot of speculation that those may have come by way of assets that we pretty much handed over to the Taliban in Afghanistan when we made our hasty unannounced withdrawal and just left $87 billion worth of equipment there. equipment and weapons, I should say. Obviously, lots of horrendous stories from that. But again, I haven't had the time to really dig in and take a look at everything that's going on there. Stephen Scalise apparently has been voted, I guess, by the House, or part of the House Republicans, to take Speaker McCarthy's place as the Speaker of the House. And I guess that's still set to go to a full vote in the House, so it's not official yet. The grumblings I hear on the Republican side are, of course, that he's basically 2.0. That's the word I hear. I don't like any of them, just to be perfectly honest. I don't believe any of them. I don't believe any of them are really pure. I think there's maybe a handful of people over there in Congress that are interested in doing the right thing. And some of those are on both sides of the aisle. I think there is massive, intense pressure against them to not do what's right. I think the whole system is corrupt. But what I want to talk about tonight, I don't want to get into the specifics of the roots of Hamas, the history of that struggle, the history of the Gaza Strip and Israel versus Palestine and all that. And just so you know, even within like the Jewish community, this is a divisive issue. But divisive is what I actually want to talk about. I want to talk about that because it does seem that it seems like there's some puppet masters at play. Because what's happened is we have become extremely, extremely divided. And I'm not talking about in a good old, sports kind of way, Bears versus Packers, White Sox versus Cubs, for those of you over here in the Midwest, near the Chicago area, those good old sports rivalries where we rib each other in a good-natured way, or maybe have the occasional fist fight break out in the stadium between opposing fans, just kind of all part of it. I'm talking about divisive in a really, really bad way. I'm talking about the level of division that you see pre-genocide. Okay? And I want you to let those words sink in, because this isn't hyperbole. Hyperbole. It's not rhetoric. It's not fear-mongering. It's truth. It's historical fact. The level of division that we are seeing right now, the absolute hatred between diametrically opposed political parties and political ideologies amongst the population, are heightened to the point that it's literally the level of hatred that you see right before, historically speaking, right before a genocide of some sort takes place. And I'm not going to go through all the history here of genocides that have happened throughout history. I will let you do that on your own time. All right, I'll be truthful. I'm a truthful kind of guy. I probably would sit here and read you a list of all the genocides that I'm talking about. But again, extremely busy, slid in sideways right before showtime. Did not have time to sit and compile a list to refresh my memory to bring up on tonight's show. But obviously, we know there have been a lot of genocides. Obviously, we know about, Joseph Stalin, the Bolsheviks, the proletariat, we know about Mao Zedong over in China. Obviously, Hitler, everybody knows about that one. The situation that happened with between Bosnia and Serbia back in the 90s, Rwanda in Africa. I'm just throwing those off the top of my head. But genocide, it's an awful thing. It's something that people get wrapped up into at the heat of the moment, at the time of great division amongst people, usually over ideologies, over who controls resources, over who's benefiting financially from those resources and who's not, who's going hungry, who's not, who's getting bankrupted, who's losing their houses and who's not. Those are the kinds of things that fuel the level of hatred needed for genocide. And what have they done to us? Let's talk about the last, well, they've been working on this for a lot more than 3 years. The last 3 years has been very prominent in what I think is the final stages of a plan for social destabilization. Okay. Oh gosh, what's the guy's name? Yuri Bezmenov, something to that effect, former KGB agent, actually went on an American TV talk show and talked about this plan that the KGB had to create massive division in America. And he was talking about that in 1983, believe it or not. If you haven't seen those clips out, excuse me. My dog is suddenly making noise. I don't know what it is. Every time I start doing this show, everything in the house goes crazy. Anyway, the point being, oh, my wife's home. So he's actually kind of being good. All right. The point being, right before genocide, there's lots of division. Things ramp up between opposed parties to the point that people literally start wishing death upon each other. People literally start saying, basically, we just need to eradicate the other side of this issue in order to go forward. We saw that, of course, in the 1930s and 40s in Germany between the Nazis and the Jews. We saw it play out in Russia with the Bolsheviks and the proletariat. The Bolsheviks and the bourgeoisie. Terminology. But I come in here and I'm giving a little bit of an admission myself. People have treated, since this whole thing got started in 2020, people have been awful to each other. Online, in person. I mean, really, really bad awful. Like, laughing at the fact that someone died. Literally wishing death upon their opponents. Just finding absolute joy in knowing that people were able to get someone fired from a job, that their business got destroyed, their job got taken away, that they got bankrupted, their family got torn apart. Again, laughing, celebrating over the fact that people had died if they had beliefs that didn't fall in line with someone else. The way people talk to each other, mostly online, but some in person as well, has been awful. And I'm one of them. I'm as guilty as the next person. I have said some terrible things to people, both online and in person. If something was going on that went against my set of beliefs on a particular issue or set of issues, including some family and former friends. And I'm not proud of that. And the one thing that I hope, the big takeaway from all this, I honestly hope that there can be this great awakening process where all of a sudden everybody opens their eyes and sees that this whole divisive charade has been played out so well that everybody is now at like peak temperature in the cauldron to do what I feel like certain powers that be are trying to get us to do, which is basically to bite each other's heads off. And I mean that literally, not figuratively. And a lot of that comes as a result of the echo chambers. There are left-wing echo chambers. There are right-wing echo chambers. There are independent echo chambers, environmentalist echo chambers. And you know what? Since someone's here, I feel like I should address that. Hello, my love.
Hello.
How are you doing back there?
I am great. How are you doing?
Back behind the curtain.
Yes.
I mean, our wonderful studio backdrop. All right. Carla has got home. She will be joining us in a little bit once she gets situated from returning home. She's been gone for, I don't know, what, 13 hours? Something like that. It's been a long, it's been a long day for her as well. So, but moving on. Part of the problem with these echo chambers, okay, the whole point of my broadcast here is I'm hoping for the few people that hear this out there that it strikes some sort of chord with them, regardless of which political side they fall onto of any particular issue. The problem with these echo chambers is that they reinforce our personal biases against other people. And then as they reinforce those personal biases, they keep feeding us demonization of those that we are opposed to. And it doesn't give us mild examples. It doesn't give us moderate examples. It doesn't give us hardcore examples. It gives these echo chambers give us the most extreme examples of our opponents, the people that have ideology we don't believe in. It gives the most extreme examples of that reinforce the bias we have against them, which causes us to label everybody that's not on our side. We lump all of them into that category that's on that other side and assign that extremist ideology to everybody there. The right is guilty of it. The left is guilty of it. The center is guilty of it. For some examples, let's talk about the conservative side. Let's talk about Sean Hannity on Fox. Let's talk about how much hatred that was built up for the Muslim community as a whole because of a small percentage of extremists from that set of beliefs, right? And I knew Muslims, and I knew they weren't extremists. I also knew a lot of the rumors going around about them were laughable, to say the least. Let's talk about Sean Hannity. Remember the mosque, the famous mosque that was going to be built, the Mosque Victory Tower that was going to be built near the World Trade Center. One World Center, the Freedom Tower after the Twin Towers were destroyed. There was something that Sean left out of that entire discussion. that mosque had been there prior to the 9/11 attacks and had been damaged to the point that it needed to be rebuilt. So when they applied for the permit to rebuild it, they weren't building a new mosque that hadn't been there. They were replacing a mosque that had been there for decades, that had been basically destroyed in the 9/11 attacks. That got left out of the conversation. The conversation basically was that this was, in effect, a victory mosque, a celebration of the collapse of the World Trade Center towers, which it was not. But people on the right jumped onto that ideology. They believed it. Now let's talk about people on the left. The inaccuracies with MSNBC and CNN, two of the biggest offenders out there, in my opinion. Let's talk about the fact that, well, let's just talk about the pandemic. What did they tell you about the people who were initially hesitant or skeptical of the lockdowns, right? They told you that those people didn't care about your grandmother, right? That these were selfish people. Selfish people who had no problem with going out and infecting your grandmother, killing your grandmother. And in fact, the people who were opposed to the lockdowns, that was not their mindset. Their mindset, well, we won't get into it too much. Let's just say that in their mind, most of them, they saw a lot of what was happening as being politically motivated. They believed it was a big step towards a more of a totalitarian system. And they also had some of their own scientific studies and some of their own scientific data that they looked at that led them to that conclusion. It's sort of like the pro-2A movement, right? The argument on the left is that these darn pro-2A extremists are so interested in owning a particular type of rifle that they value that over the lives of your children at school. And that's not true either. As a matter of fact, pro-2A people are just as passionate about keeping the children safe at schools as you are on the left. Fundamentally, what happens is there's a disagreement over how that needs to be achieved, but ultimately, the pro-2A community sees the incremental encroachment on pro-2A rights as a very real and present danger against the safety of children now and in the future, because they point to a pretty pronounced history of what's happened to populations in places where people were disarmed by their government. Lots of children died in that as well. The pro-2A people, they don't like to hear about a mass shooting. They don't like to hear about 3 kids or 5 kids, 10 kids or 20 kids at a high school being shot. But they also don't like to hear about 1 million of them being slaughtered in a genocide in a place where the government recently confiscated firearms. So we characterize each other in these ways that we demonize each other, and that's all we hear. We hear those reinforcements of our biases. If you talk to someone who's, let's say, pro-gun control, they're not even opening their ears to listen to your arguments, because they've already written you off as the devil incarnate, because they are convinced that you're just a gun nut who likes your gun so much you don't mind if their kids die in the process. That's what they've been fed by their echo chamber. That's what has been reinforced by their echo chamber. And that's the world we live in, where anyone who doesn't believe exactly like us is absolutely demonized. And we have to recognize that, and we have to stop it. We have to listen to each other. Instead of assuming that we know what the other side's position is, we actually need to open our ears and listen to what they have to say. Because the bottom line is, the biggest chunk of this country, regardless of how they vote, the biggest chunk of this country are reasonable people who have similar goals. We may not always agree on how to achieve those goals, but we have similar goals, we have similar interests. And most of either side aren't there for the extremist stuff that you hear. Most of the people on the left, for all the demonization of the left that you hear amongst more right-leaning outlets, most of them have no idea you see them that way, because they aren't being fed that information. They're not being fed the extremist stuff of their own party through their echo chamber. In their echo chamber, they are told that they are the reasonable, normal, tolerant people, and that anyone who's against them they're a bigot, they're a homophobe, they hate gay people, they hate transgender people, they hate this, they hate that, they hate people of color. They have no idea the things that the people on the right are hearing about them. They don't even know that's happening amongst their side. Okay? Most of the people who are out there getting upset about book banning have no idea that there is explicit sexual content available to second graders through the school library. They aren't aware of that, because that's not what their echo chamber is telling them. Their echo chamber is telling them the right wants to ban books like the Nazis did. They are being led to believe that these are just regular, normal, second grader level books that aren't harming anyone, that simply don't paint the LGBTQ plus community as a bunch of devils. They have no idea what's in those books. They don't read them. And their echo chamber don't tell them the graphic content of those books. They don't support it either, most of them. And if you had some way of showing them what's actually in these books, well, there's some reactions like that out there online. Some people have been showed the content of the books that some of these mean old right-wingers are trying to remove from school libraries. And they're shocked by it. They're shocked because they're normal, reasonable people. Even though they vote one way, they have no idea what's going on. Their echo chamber is not telling them that. There's also some crazy out there shit that's happened on the right that, don't worry, my wife is not just outside of camera range motioning to me. I swear she's not. You can trust me. People on the right aren't being shown some of the out there stuff. I remember years ago I had somebody talking to me about how racist Rush Limbaugh was, and I didn't agree with that. And then he actually sat there and he brought up some clips of some old Rush Limbaugh shows of Rush saying some things that were pretty daggone racist. It wasn't like I had listened to every show. I mean, the man was on the radio for, 3 hours a day for, 3 decades or something like that. So, obviously, there was a lot of material missed. Somebody out there caught snippets of Rush saying some things that were pretty racist, and I realized, okay, wow, if that is your exposure to Rush Limbaugh, then I can understand where that racist belief comes from. So that's the bottom line. I don't know how to break it down any further. We live in echo chambers where our biases are absolutely reinforced about the other side. And we just keep getting bombarded with these stories, these headlines that just further support our bias, further demonize the other side. And it's happening from both sides. And so if the puppet masters of this grand show, if they are trying to keep us divided, we all know the old saying about divide and conquer. Well, we know who they're trying to divide. They're trying to divide us, the people. And this isn't just happening here in America. This is happening in Canada. This is happening in Germany, all over Europe, Spain. This is a global issue. You don't get exposed to that. Your echo chambers don't tell you that either. They don't tell you that a lot of the same massive protests that have happened here have also happened in places around the world. A lot of them. Very little coverage about the Dutch farmers. You ask the average person what they know about the Dutch farmer revolt, they'll just look at you blank, like, what the hell are you talking about? But it was there, it happened. And it's just one of many, many, many overthrowing of governments that have taken place. An absolute coup over in Africa. I believe it was Sri Lanka, they overthrew the government over a lot of the same type of issues around it. Do you know that there has even been this rash of massive rioting and attempted coups around the world from people that believe their presidential elections were rigged? That's happened too. It's not just here. You don't hear about that. Instead, your echo chamber just reinforces your biases against the people you don't like where you live. So again, it begs the question. We already know who they're trying to divide. They're trying to divide all of us, the people, the peasants. They're not trying to divide the people in power. They're not trying to divide the billionaires, the world elites. They're trying to divide us, us common folks. So if they're trying to divide us, that pretty much tells us who they're trying to conquer. It's not one side, it's both sides. Yeah, yet they're dividing us because they intend to conquer both of us. So whichever side you're on, as you sit there thinking that you're on the right side of history, I want you to recognize and realize that the powers that be do not have your back. They're trying to divide you from the people you live and walk and work amongst, because they intend to conquer you and force you into whatever's next in this chapter of the New World. All right, that is it. I'm going to try to cheer it up a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to try to cheer it up with. At some point, my lovely wife is going to come over and maybe share some strange and funny news with us.
Yep, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. We got 2 minutes, and Carla's going to come and share it. She started this segment on our last show, and it just seemed pretty funny. We talked about how how to cheat in a chess match using vibrating anal beads. That was a great conversation. In Michigan. Something happened in Michigan, and I can't remember what it was now. It was pretty crazy, though. But,
Someone went into a shitter to get a phone.
Oh, yeah. The voice behind the curtain has reminded me that, someone went in. It was at a porta potty. Someone dropped their phone in and was leaning in, apparently head first, to try to get the phone, and fell in, and rescue personnel were involved. Crazy story, and they put out the warning. Basically, if your phone falls in this, don't go diving in after it. So yeah, she shared those strange little bits. Daryl and I had a good laugh. This show always goes a lot better when we got Daryl on here. Daryl is definitely the funny, crazy, goofy one. And I tend to be a little bit too serious sometimes. But my funny, goofy, crazy side comes out a lot more when I've got Daryl here, or my wife, who's supposed to be joining us any minute now. I can tell you, we're probably going to be running a shorter than normal episode tonight, just because, well, it's October and it's crazy. Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy. I'm busy. Daryl's busy. My wife is working overtime this week. I don't know what it is about October. Well, it's the September slide. I call it the September slide. Once you get through Labor Day, it seems like there's just you wake up one day and it's the day after Labor Day, and then 3 days later it's Christmas Eve. And everything else in between is just one big, long, fast-moving blur that got you there before you even knew that it was time. Yeah, now this time of year really gets me, and then once you get through Christmas, of course, then it's extreme winter, usually the next day, 2 days after that. So I really don't like this time of year. I really don't. I mean, I like Halloween. I love Halloween. We're really big on putting the Halloween decorations up here. But that whole September slide thing, and then, it's work, you don't work, and I don't know. Crazy time of year. Again.
September slide.
Okay. Speaking of sliding,
We didn't get to it.
I am going to slide over so that I can make room for my lovely wife, Carla Harley.
Who's here? Woo! Whoop! And the dog finally decided to bark.
Yeah, they barked
Sorry.
again.
What's up, people? How we all doing tonight? It is cold. It is windy. It is rainy. It is disgusting.
Oh, is it raining out there now?
It is pouring down rain.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it is pouring down rain. It's ugly. It's very dark outside, and nobody knows how to drive.
Well, they don't know how to drive when the weather's good, so
Right.
I wouldn't expect them to know how to drive when the weather's bad.
Yeah, so sorry about that. They all knew that I had to be here at 7 o'clock for the show. They would have got out of my way, but, they decided to hold me up. So.
Oh, I'm sure they would have. All right, so here's my wife. And you know
What's
what,
up?
ladies, but not just ladies. This is for everybody. It's not just for ladies.
It's not just for ladies.
It's not just for ladies. So, now we're going on, 13 weeks. But in 11 weeks, she lost 44 pounds.
There we go. Absolutely.
pounds.
Yeah.
And, she's down. How many sizes are you down on your jeans?
I'm down 1.5. I probably should go down one more size right now, but I just haven't done it yet. So about 2 sizes, I would say.
Yeah. And so the diet program that she's on has been very effective. And so if you're ever curious, you want to know how she did that, you want to get on board with the program that she's a part of, you can always send a message to me on Twitter, YouTube, the Facebook page, wherever you want to send it, and I will put you in touch with her.
There you go.
So that you guys can talk business. And it's not, even though it's very popular with the ladies, it's not
just for ladies.
It's not just for ladies. There
I've
are
got
guys that are on it as well.
Many couples that are
It
using it.
is kind of tailor-made, I guess you could say, to meet the needs of the participant in the program. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's very effective.
Very effective.
She has attempted diets before, and none of them seem to work. This one is obviously working very well. As what's your total weight loss at this point now?
47 pounds, I believe, is what I'm up to right
Well,
now.
what was it? You said you got down to 176, 177?
Yeah, I'm at 175 this morning.
175. Okay, and you started at 226.
Right.
So 51 pounds. We're at 51 pounds now.
And this is why I don't do math. Where's that calculator?
It's okay. She's a payroll specialist.
Hey.
She doesn't have to be good with numbers. It's not important.
I'm good with everybody's money instead.
All right. So without further ado, we're gonna make this show a little bit more funny now.
Yeah, we are.
And we're gonna go on with what do you call this segment? The crazy funny.
This is the crazy news that they'll never share with you.
There we go.
How's that?
All
Does
right.
that sound like a good segment? I don't know.
It does.
I don't know. So yeah, so
Let's
crazy
go.
news because we're gonna line it up a little bit. So Minneapolis, Minnesota has made news, and our U.S. Custom Border is protecting us against disease again.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So
This is funny, right?
no, this is funny. Yeah,
Okay.
they're protecting
All right.
us 100%. So they seized a woman at the Minnesota airport, opened her box, and unbeknownst to them, she declared what was inside the box as giraffe poo. She had a whole entire box of giraffe poo. She had went to Kenya, decided that she was going to bring this giraffe poo back into the United States, which I guess you are allowed to do, but you have to have special permits to be able to do this.
Hold on. I gotta stop you.
Now,
right
wait
there.
a minute. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Go on.
Go ahead. You're probably wondering, why did she bring home a box of giraffe poo?
Well, apparently, if this is the type of thing that you can get a permit for,
It's somebody else
it's like
has done
something that happens, and
Now, that's
Okay.
where you come into play. You can do your scientific studies on if giraffe poo is
boy.
good for anything. But this woman is from Iowa. So she is from Iowa. Comes home from Kenya. And her reason why she has this box of giraffe poo is because she's going to make a necklace out of it. So women, if you can't find enough gold, silver, diamonds, and everything else out there, we can always go to Kenya now. We can get a box of giraffe poo. Make sure you get your proper permits.
Listen.
You can bring it back home and you can make a beautiful necklace out of it. Now, you think that this was her first time doing this? No, it wasn't, because she's already made a necklace out of moose poo. And there you go, folks. Things you'll never hear in the news.
okay.
And I don't know. Maybe we should all go on Fans Only now and look her up. I don't know.
Okay. If you're on a budget, right? There's
Go buy paparazzi for $5.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with paparazzi jewelry. A little bit of cubic zirconia,
Right.
You know, your fake diamonds that are affordable. Wow, wow.
Nothing to say about this, huh?
I-
What if I come home tomorrow with...
How do you make jewelry out of that?
Well, you got to figure that the giraffe poo is going to get hard, because poo usually gets hard, right? I mean, we've all seen dog poo and other
Hard, but
poo.
doesn't it also get like brittle? I don't know.
I guess maybe she puts it in a necklace and then it gets hard on the necklace, and then shouldn't I try this for you tomorrow and see how
No.
you like it? No?
Absolutely not.
Back to the diamonds, ladies. There you go. I'm giving them an out, and he didn't want to take it. So
Oh boy. No. Why?
I told you why, and to think this actually made news. So our U.S. Customs, thank goodness, they knew the policy, and I guess she'd have been able to bring it into the United States, but she just didn't have the right permits. So there you go.
Okay, so I'm equally disturbed. One, that someone would bring giraffe poo
From Kenya. In a box.
In a box back into the country.
Hold on.
But I'm equally disturbed that our government says, bless you. Okay. It's probably the poo dust from that story. Okay.
All right, we'll keep talking about poo. Hold on.
Yeah, that sneeze attack is my fault. So anyway, I don't know what the government.
I just wish Daryl was on the phone.
I do too, because I would love to hear his comments on the giraffe poo jewelry. Shall we say? Yeah. All right. So that's a pretty crazy story. And I understand we have another one lined up. Hopefully we've...
Okay. Allergies are killing me tonight. This is just...
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you've been having allergy attacks
I know.
for
Sorry about
the
that,
last,
people.
3 days.
All right.
Okay.
So tonight's theme is animals.
Uh-oh.
So last week was dildos and falling in the shitter. This week, then, I took the shitter
A dildo. It was anal beads.
Or anal beads. There
Anal
you go.
beads.
Sorry. Then I did the shitter story, and then tonight I did the shitter necklace story. So where do you think I'm going to go now?
I don't know, but somehow a mammalian anus is going to be involved. I have a feeling.
No. So Philadelphia Phillies has made news.
Oh, boy.
So during a baseball game, and we all know that, you've got service dogs out there that can travel with your fans and all that, right?
Right.
And they put nice little things on it that says service dog.
Right.
Well, a fan got kicked out because she brought her service animal to the baseball game.
I noticed you said service animal and not service dog.
Ooh, folks, Bikerson is doing good tonight. He picked up on that. You want to take a wild guess what this service animal was?
I hope to God it wasn't a Kenyan giraffe.
Now that would have been funny, because the woman from Iowa could have just went to the Phillies game and made a necklace right then and there.
You know what? Without knowing anything about that story, the first one, I'm just going to throw out a guess that she's from Des Moines.
I don't know. It just said she was from Iowa.
I'll have to look that up later.
We'll look it up a little bit more. There was no name either.
I'm just guessing.
But I tried.
It's either Des Moines or Dubuque. It's one of the two.
Okay, well,
right.
So service animal comes into the game. They get kicked out because the policy says that they have a policy. Service animals are allowed at the game. Just not alligator service animals. Yes, folks. This lady. Now, here's the funny part of this story. This service alligator is named Wally, or Walligator. Is on social media. Yes, go out and look him up. You can find him on social media. He has tens of thousands of followers. He is very, very popular.
Okay.
He is seen on social media being hugged, being kissed. But the Philadelphia Phillies said this was not a service animal. It was more against their policy of service animals. And the fan was not allowed to watch the game or do anything. So.
Did the fan happen to mention what service the alligator was performing?
It was a mental.
An emotional support alligator.
Emotional support, yes. So it was an emotional support. There are pictures of her with Wally. Wally does have, this alligator does have a name. Wally. Walligator.
Okay.
With tens of thousands of followers on social media.
Okay, so now I'm upset because an alligator has more of a following than I do on social media.
See, it's a goal to get to.
So I'm thinking...
I should make you my service animal?
I'm thinking maybe I can get more popular and get my word out there if I were to go pick up an emotional support giraffe.
And I can make a necklace out of the poo.
You know what? Maybe, I mean, we're not that far from Iowa. Maybe we'll make a direct shipping deal and we'll just send her boxes of it so she can make it and
we'll charge her.
Yeah,
and
there
then
you
there
go.
you go.
Well, there
See?
we go.
So there you go. So news and strange and weird news that's out there, folks, brought to you by me, myself, and I. But
what's got you distracted?
What's got you distracted? Because it seems like that alligator had a lot of people distracted at the game. And
that would be distracting.
Yeah.
It would be.
Yeah. But they are going to rewrite, they did mention they are going to rewrite the policy now to make sure that going forward it's a little bit more specific as far as what is allowed in there and what's not. Because I could see someone coming in with a giraffe.
This is my emotional support boa.
Boa,
Yeah.
right? I mean, yeah, so there you go. And right there, folks, stupidity is as stupid does. Is how does that go? He's the quote guy, not me. So stupid is as stupid does.
Stupid is as stupid does. I believe that was from Forrest Gump.
I do believe so. But there is your stupid news that you probably was not aware of.
All right, let me just check really fast and see if we've got any input from Daryl yet. Basically, where he is, there's not much of a signal. He did mention he's got basically one bar, meaning a signal bar. No, stop. See where she went.
He's only got one bar. God, I hate it when these truck drivers only have one bar to go to every night, not 6 bars.
Not a tavern. He's got one bar of signal strength on his phone in the staging area. And then he said that once he goes back to load inside the building, there's absolutely no signal coverage.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. So he's not going to be getting out. He's definitely not going to be getting out in time to well,
it's too bad. Do we have anyone? I think people should call in and let's talk about whether alligators should be service animals that go to, why are we being, well, why are we being, I mean, why is it only a dog that can be a support animal in public? Why can't we take alligators and snakes and lions and bears? Oh my.
Chickens.
I knew it was going to do that, folks.
I'd be all for having an emotional support rooster, you know what I mean? No?
You just want to be followed around with your cock all day or what? I'm sorry, I had to go there.
I mean, first off, why do you have to disrespect my cock like that? I mean,
Because I just had to go there.
It's for emotional support.
I'm sure it is. All right, well, there we go. Bikerson the Beer Man is going to have emotional support.
All right, so we are going to wrap this show up. We got about 2 minutes left. Keeping it short tonight since we don't have Daryl here, and it's just not the same without him. Yeah. So that's that. We're going to keep it short. And so.
Well, thanks for letting me slide in here sideways at the last minute there.
Yeah, I'm actually about to roll the ending credits now. They're kind of fun. I wish our radio audience could hear them, but the people listening to us on Blog Talk, they can't hear the closing video. You only get that if you're watching the YouTube or Malcolm Twitter feed. So anyway, folks, for those that have tuned in tonight to listen to us, thank you for being here. We do love our listening audience. And definitely and got a lot of love and respect for our people that view us out there.
And next week, I want all the women that's listening, and even the men, let's show those necklaces that you made out of giraffe poo.
Tell you what, I'm going to see if I can find pictures of giraffe poo necklaces, and we'll post those out on the Facebook page.
You can.
For the radio show. And... yeah, we'll get some reactions to that. But anyway, as always, I appreciate you being here. I look forward to the next one, and we'll see you there. 10-4.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.